3-turn accessory raid as well.
7k dreamer please.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're looking at the accessory raid revamp guide, and we have a few teams to cover today. But the strategy is roughly the same as what we have for duo raid. Okay, so this is again beginning off with the beginner's build. Okay, for Demon of Destruction, he does have decreased physical damage taken, which means you can use the limited trait. The new limited trait that increases damage dealt to enemies who have that particular passive. Okay, so just to talk about my Velika's beginner build, crit and lethal build, HP armor, physical magic attack increase, crit damage, as well as increased awakening gauge, Wolverine and crit damage accessory for a very basic kind of setup, stun resist, okay, and increased damage on universal and lethal rate. For the front line, as always, HP armor, willful ring, and defensive jewels. Don't have to be awakened. I think if you go with blue jewels and block rate, I think that should be fine. But more importantly is the HP armor. You need to have PvE HP armor, okay? So basically that's all, and I'm using Ritual, and these are some of the standard teams that people have been using. Team number 3 is pretty hard to use because I mean, if you have a Judas, good for you. But for the purpose of this guide, I am going to use very easily accessible heroes. Okay. Same goes with Live Streamer Squad in team number 2. Okay, so let's begin. Now do take note that Demon of Destruction does have 300 speed. Okay, so he is very likely to use his speed attack first, and in this case he does skill first because my team has lower speed than him. But it's completely fine. You can still just use your Yuri's bottom skill to debuff him, and then continue with the regular procedure of buffing Velika all the way. Take note that I did this manually as well, and this is for the benefit of players who have just reached level 8 raid and then, you know, would like to try it out and try to clear it in one try. And do take note that because, you know, in this case, Demon of Pascal actually used his skill first and used his basic attack first. You know, even if my Velika has the highest speed, she will not be able to use her speed attack. And overall, this will cause her awaken gauge to charge slower than expected. Okay, so that is something you have to take note and also manage on your end. Of course here, because we're using a beginner's build, so I really want to maximize the potential damage output that Velika can do, so I used Yuri's Awaken skill to increase damage on universal enemies, and then proceed with Velika's Awaken skill. Now if that just somehow does not kill, then, you know, at least you have the bottom skill of Velika to finish things off. But it should be okay, okay? So moving on, you can also use the cooldown team that we have constantly been talking about. So in that case, if you really want to use the cooldown team, cooldown strategy that I've mentioned in my previous 2 raid revamp guides, you have to give your entire team speed weapons. Okay, of course with the exception of Velika. You have to make sure that the total speed of your team has to be more than Demon of Destruction. Okay, so that you can use the first skill first, and you know, you really will want to use the first skill first because you have to apply the cooldown increase on him. Otherwise, there's no point in using the cooldown strategy at all, right? So once that is done, all you have to do, you know, just do the same thing. Debuff with Chloe's top skill and then buff Velika up and proceed to slay him as per normal. Of course, again, this strategy will take slightly longer because, you know, there's a lot of things to click and you have to reapply the Chloe's cooldown increase at different various timings, and of course this will drag out your entire run. But it's a very safe strategy, okay? Anyone, you know, any new player, you know, if you don't have enough gear and you just want to clear the raid just to get the auto clear access, I think the cooldown increase strategy is actually one of the best, okay? So yeah, in fact, you know, I even had to use cooldown skills here. I don't know why I actually use Yuri's skill though. I think I should be using Maybe just to cool down my Velika. Yeah, to actually let me use her skill and quickly get her awakened skill up fast enough, because otherwise this run is just gonna take way too long. And once all the buffs from Feren's top Yuri's awakened skill is cast, you can safely use, Velika's awakened skill to finish him off. It does take slightly longer than usual, but no, all's good. Your heroes are surviving, and that's what matters the most. Okay, so here is the advanced team. My Velika is on speed and crit with poorer HP armor so that the Berserker Ring can take effect properly, increase awakening gauge, PvE magic attack increase, as well as increase crit and lethal damage. Now for her limited traits, okay, increase lethal damage on universal targets, and as well as increase damage dealt to enemies with physical damage reduction. Okay, that is exactly what Demon of Pascal has. So that is one of the key limited traits you can switch into if you have already unlocked it. Okay, and of course increased damage on universal is very important as well. Take note that Demon of Destruction does have reflect, but it doesn't matter at all because because Velika is immune to reflect. And for the front row, same thing, HP, armor, defensive jewels, and willful rings. That's all. Oh, just in case you're wondering why Freya is here, Freya is here for paralyzed immunity. Okay, and because Demon of Destruction does cast paralyze and stun. So this is almost the same team as the basic build, but just enhanced gears. Okay, so in case you want to run with this, it's also completely fine. And do take note that you will have speed attack weapons on your front line, so that you can outspeed and use the first skill and land the debuff on Demon of Destruction first. And then the same procedure just to buff your Velika and kill her and kill Demon of Destruction off with your awakened skill. I feel that Accessory Raid is not the most difficult one. Okay, I think the most annoying one is still Item Raid. But Accessory Raid is very, very straightforward, especially I think Velika was actually made for the raid initially because of the reflect immunity that she has for herself. So it used to be one of the toughest one because of his two types of CC, and back then it was almost very difficult. And newer players now probably have it a little easier because you now have heroes that provide a certain immunity. Right, back then you didn't have that, and it was very annoying that you had to change traits just to do the raid, unless you had a second Velika of course. So 48 million damage in there, okay. Insane output from Velika. Then again, I took 5 turns, okay. Now there is an even faster strategy, and that is the 3-turn strategy, and here we are using Regent Leif over Sylvia. Now if you remember from my dual raid, this is something like that strategy. However, because it is Demon of Destruction and you will go second if you do not have enough speed. So there is one way you can actually do this in 3 turns, just like the dual raid. Same equipment on Velika, okay, nothing changes, but for the front line you have to give them all height accessory. And again, thanks to Faris for telling me of this strategy, and also other players as well. They said that use height accessory on your front line so that the boss will hit Velika first, and this will actually cause Velika's awakened gauge to increase earlier, and by turn 3 you should be able to get your awakening skill, which is very efficient. Okay, and you see that for Freya and Yuri, I only gave them a height accessory for 1 turn. Okay, that's all you need. So you can have 4 1-turn height accessories to just equip your heroes with, and basically that's it. Okay, that's it. So we're gonna head into the run. I'll actually do 2 runs just to show you the consistency. First off, cast the debuff. You see that, despite having more speed than Demon of Destruction, he will still slap you first because he has higher speed himself. But nonetheless, at least you get to use the first skill. And then buff with Velika, we see that after Demon of Destruction uses his next skill, okay, she should get her Awaken skill up already. There you go. Again, take note that we're not using Sylvia and we don't have to worry too much about the block because Reginlave is here to reduce 30% block from the boss because it is turn 3. She hits like a truck and still manages to kill him in just 3 turns without the maximum Yuri buff. So it's completely doable if you have a setup like that, okay? You don't even need to use that many skills. So just to show you guys again the run, the very fast run. I don't think there's anything else for me to add. If you're still confused with anything that's happening, just leave them in the comments and I'll get to them. But generally, I think Accessory Raid is extremely straightforward. And in fact, just to sum up and give my conclusive thoughts about the 3 raid guides, I really hope it helps new and older players as well. Maybe older players may find new strategies to tackle the extra raids that you get, because extra raid is ultimately still something you have to do manually, okay, or automatically. So yeah, and since raids are getting easier, I'm really not surprised if he pushes out level 9 raids maybe in April, okay, as soon as April, because it was already supposed to come out maybe this month or last month, but it has been pushed back indefinitely. Okay, so let me know if this video helped, and if it did, do give it a like and subscribe to my channel. Big shout out to my channel members ZMD Phoenix, NDC Dahi and Reggie Bautista for the support. Stay tuned for more guys. Thank you so much and see you.